Okay, here we are in the garage. Time to trim up some of the container roses that have been spending the winter in here. Need to clean them up. I haven't done that. I just moved them inside and defoliated most of them, but not all. So the main thing about being in the garage here is they don't freeze, which is important since they're in containers because the winters get pretty cold here in Iowa. And we're also going to do a quick checkup on the koi, on my fish, and see how they're doing. They've been spending the winter inside in their little winter tank, dormant, and the temperatures are starting to rise now. So I'm just going to do a check on them and see how they're doing. I've been keeping track of them, of course. Hubby and I both have been, but I'll give you the update. So first, let's get to trimming some roses, and for that we need the right equipment. Let's take a look. Okay, number one, we're going to need some rose-proof gloves. These have some leather fingertips. They're pretty sturdy, and they go up the arm just a ways, so I think that's going to be good. You'll notice that I have all of my roses clustered in here, and a couple other things, clustered in here together. They sort of benefit each other being close together like this. Some things I just stored inside quickly, mostly to protect the pot even more than the plant. Like these geraniums, I doubt very much they're alive, but wanted to store the pot in here. And also, remember, I was under a time factor at the time because it was before I was getting my foot surgery, so I had a lot of planting to do, and this was another part of it that I think was probably kind of rushed a little bit. But you're seeing signs of growth here on the roses. Eustacia Vi, Lady in Red. The fairy isn't looking too good. I don't know if she made it through the winter or not. Bliss Parfuma, I think, is all right. This is some, I'll have to check exactly to see what that is. I can't recall now. A couple other roses, some apricot roses here that were very small when I got them, apricot drift. And this one looks all right. This one I'm not too sure about. Okay, we have some crocosmia, thinking they need to start doing something. And I've got a container of tulips outside, and they're starting to sprout. They're starting to poke up through the ground. So first of all, let's get some roses pruned, container roses in the garage pruned, and then we'll move outside. So we've got the gloves. Also have, this is just where I store a lot of things. It's not super fabulous. My Falcos, and also have some water to spray and clean the Falcos in between. This has just a like 1-to-10 ratio of bleach and distilled water, so just enough to disinfect them. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing. Okay, let's get started. Okay, I don't know if I'm as good at operating the trimmers on one hand and the camera on the other, but I'll do my best here. So the first thing we're doing is you take down any dead canes or anything smaller than a pencil. This looks like it's fairly dead, so we're going to take this guy out. Same thing here, it's green up into here. Okay, so we go back to where they're cut just above a leaf node. Okay, and Eustacia. Okay, we do have, it's pretty thick and woolly in here. We have some crossing canes, so I will take some of these out. Maybe go up just a smidge. And I would come out here during the winter and just put a little bit of water in these just to keep them somewhat hydrated so they don't completely dry out even though they are dormant. Okay, so Eustacia Vi, I just need to water it now. But I cleaned up a lot of the dead areas. I could remove these leaves that have sprouted. So removed also a lot of the mulch that was around this, that was heaped up for winter, simply because of pests, you know, maybe being harbored there over the winter, even though it was indoors. And the last step is to water it, and then I will remulch it. And also do the first early spring fertilizer. Now these aren't gonna stay out here overnight because although it can be 70 degrees during the day, the temperature can still drop to the upper 30s at night, and these have not been acclimated to be outdoors. All this tender growth, it would all just die. So I moved them back in. They only spend a couple of hours outside. Brilliant veranda here. I'm gonna clean this one up next. But you can see the winter dieback. I'll just trim it up to where there are some leaves sprouting, because that is a viable part of the cane. And I will take out the very small canes with the winter dieback. And then clean up the mulch and the leaves that are there, remulch it, water it, fertilize it, and then bring it back in for the night. So that's where we are so far. Time to liberate and clean up my roses and get them ready for spring. I can see some swollen buds on some of my canes. Now this rose is just under a year old, so I have to be careful on how I fertilize that. Can't be anything too harsh. But also I need to cut back the winter dieback, which is basically right about here. Okay, because all of this is dead from the winter. So I have to work on that one. Same thing with this one. We'll clear it up, clean it up, trim it, take out the old mulch, add some new, fertilize it, water it. And we'll do the same with this. Same thing with this one down here. She's kind of ready to go. And the same here. Trim it up, clean it up. And this right here, now, this girl is a beast, let me tell you what. She does have some leaves coming straight up, but what I have to do here, rather than train this, I'll allow it to just grow straight up. I am trying to get it to go over the arbor. But the problem, just like last year, I didn't worry about it because it was its first year in the ground, but the problem is, because of apical dominance, it wants to just grow upright, up, and it won't get side shoots, and the side shoots are where the flowers come from. So it grew all the ways up and flowered at the very top, and that was it. So what I need to do here is trim it down just a smidge, train it to go to the side so that there are more shoots coming up with more flowers all the way over the arch, instead of just a couple of long canes that go over the arch, because it could do it, but there won't be any flowers except maybe at the very top. So we'll also work on cleaning up and trimming up this one. She's ready to go. Okay, here is after a quicksilver, cleaned up, fertilized. I just need to water them, but I'm not going to water them here at night and have them sit in that. Okay, because the temperatures drop still a lot here at night. So I'm going to water her in the morning. So she's been cleaned up. This one, my unnamed white rose. First I thought it was an iceberg, but I don't think that's it. But it's been very hardy. I believe it's hardy down to zone 4, but I couldn't find a tag. But every year it does great. Okay. cleaned up. And now tomorrow, after I water this, I'm going to start to wrap some of these more pliable stems to try to go more horizontal. So then these shoots can generate stems that produce flowers. Because otherwise it will just shoot straight up and flower at the top. So these are more pliable. It can be trained and attached to the arbor, and I'll have to weave them back and forth so I can get flowers all the ways up. This one isn't as pliable, but I trimmed it to where there is a side shoot, which hopefully will be, and then I can train that to go sideways. Very thorny. So and this rose, was planted last year. Well, this will be its second year. So I have trimmed her up already. I want to just train her to go up this trellis. And over here, good heavens, what is the name of this rose? I am just got to think what it is. But anyway, we've got a lot of winter dieback here, but again, it's slow to wake up. Can you see the little red buds starting to come up? And give it some more time before I trim it, because this rose does need some help. Now I know this is too spindly to wrap around, and I know this is no good for sure. It's not going to work, but I mean, it's not healthy. But I'm gonna let a little bit more time go before I prune this up. Give it a shot. Now I think this is winter dieback. I don't see any red buds on this, but like I said, some are just slower to wake up. So we'll give it some more time. And this is my climber, New Dawn. Has been here 4 years, not extremely robust. This stays, it probably gets about, I guess about 6 hours of sun, mostly afternoon sun. So it is a shaded corner. Some roses though, as long as they get 6 hours of sunlight, can do all right. Now, I do have winter dieback on this every year, but I don't get too crazy about trimming it, because it's just a little slow to wake up in this corner, which is almost a zone colder. Now this I can see is just winter dieback. It's completely brown. And if it's, too spindly, like this little thing, it won't even be able to hold up a rose. So back in here where I've moved it around the fence, it's still alive. I'm gonna keep it going, but this thing, again in here, same thing. Too spindly to even hold a rose. And then here I've got some winter dieback. And again, a little bit of trimming can rejuvenate it, so I do that. This. I will probably trim this back a little bit more, but like I said, early days, still a little too cold to worry about it. Things will change yet. I mean, it's spring on the calendar, but it's not spring in my yard yet, so just have to learn to be patient. Now you can see right here, well, there is some stem injury that could have been from a rabbit over the winter, because the snow did get, clear up to here, and so they would nibble where they could. This did have some protection, but geez, they'll just reach right over it if they want to. And this is really just the first spring prune. There might be more. Right now there aren't buds coming up on this one because, like I said, this is the coldest part of my garden and the slowest part to wake up. So this is Bassie's purple, or Bassie's purple, which, as you can see, it wants to grow up, not necessarily out. This is a bit of an experiment here. What I've done is dig a huge hole and plant a 5-gallon pot here in this garden bed, and that is because it is overrun with tree roots. And those tree roots do tend to interfere with the growth of any sort of roses. So even though I plant them small, they don't like to thrive here. There's just too much competition for water and for nutrients. So this is an experiment, and we'll see how it goes. Trimming down the dead part here, inconsequential. I need to pin this one up so it doesn't just grow up and out. So it grows a few more leaves. In fact, so I'm going to trim this here and trim this here. All right, can you see it? There we go, just above a leaf node to encourage it to branch out a bit. That's what we'll do there. Okay, here's an example of what I mean about how trying to grow roses here where there's too much root competition affects their growth pattern. This is Princess Margarita, and it's had one or two, an odd bloom or two, in the 3 years that I've had it here, but I'm going to dig it up and move it this year so it doesn't have quite so much root competition, because it's just struggling to survive. Okay, so the last step in this whole endeavor is to sprinkle some repels all. Hungry rabbits, thorns or not, they come looking for fresh spring growth, and they're not picky. This one I've got a cloche, a wire cloche over it, so I'm okay. Let's see where I took down any sort of protection. I don't want the rabbits coming after these fresh stems, the fresh growth, because they'll nibble it right off. Little gliders. I don't worry about a salvia or daffodils, because they seem to know those are toxic. It's the same with the dianthus. Okay, here we go. They seem to leave this one alone. I don't know why, but still I'm going to give her some protection. Keep them away. There we go. Okay, there's the temperature now, 54.6. So that means basically at this temperature, the fish just, I don't know if you can see them down in there. They just kind of go into a type of dormancy. They don't eat. They just hang out there at the bottom for the winter. We do keep the ponds filtered and the water circulating to ensure that the top of this unheated tank doesn't freeze. In our garage here, which is an attached garage but not heated, it does get pretty cold, but it doesn't get down to freezing. All right, that's it for now. I will definitely keep my eye on the roses though, because this is spring on the calendar, but it's most likely not spring weather outside, at least not consistently, not reliably, not here in zone 5B. For example, it's 60 degrees, the birds are out, everybody's having fun, the crocus is blooming, some daffodils are pushing up, some tulips are pushing up, but yes, there's supposed to be a drop down into the 20s tomorrow, and snow in the forecast for the weekend, and that's just this week. I have learned the hard way that anything can happen. So this is why I do leave a layer of organic material, whether it's fall leaves or mulch, wood chips, that sort of thing, still to insulate just a bit, just keep it nearby. I don't completely clean them out and get them all ready to go
for spring and do all the early treatments because, like I said, a lot can happen this time of year. And that's just the way it is. I see it as a learning opportunity, right? There are a lot of things that can happen, and that's just part of what makes gardening interesting. It's one of those skills and one of those things that we're always learning, always studying. So in the meantime, once again, I'm being paged. In the meantime, how do you get your roses ready for spring? More work to do. I do hope that you like and subscribe to this channel. And thanks for following me. Leave me a note, ask me questions. I look forward to communicating with you. And I will see you next time. Happy gardening.